especially love those brown ones.
Yeah, yeah.
I need all of those things. They're beautiful.
And while she's running around, I don't know what she went to get, but here's Janet. And Janet, welcome back. Is this week 4?
It is week 4, Kelly.
This is week 4 of our Heritage series with Janet, and I'm just loving it. And today she's going to show us about slides, what to do with old photos that have those cardboardy frames on them, how to organize your albums, and some things to do with wedding pictures. And happy Friday, everybody. But before we get to Janet, we're going to just show you a couple things that came in. Dawn, do you want to get Janet's microphone, or do you want to?
Oh, okay.
Do you think you need it? I'm sorry.
That's right.
Oh, this one's red. This one's got the red light.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
We might have to have. Maybe you could plug this in or something, and I can get by.
All right. Okay. Am I? Oh, I'm not even on. All
Beep
right.
beep.
Am I on?
Yep. Kristen
Okay.
says she's so excited to watch the live today because there's no school.
Oh my gosh. It's probably because it's too cold. Who wants to be outside?
Here in Iowa, it's cold. I think in Texas, they've got a lot of problems going on.
And if it looks like I've gained weight, it's only because I've added about 8 layers to my wardrobe today.
Yeah,
I've got
tell us what you
layers
got
and
on.
layers and layers. I've got leggings under my jeans.
Oh my gosh, you're lucky you
in
can. You're
spring,
skinny.
I'm going to lose 10 pounds right away when I don't put all my clothes on.
Well, Dawn, I couldn't get all that under my clothes. There's no extra room.
Well,
so
they're
you're
pretty
lucky.
tight. They're pretty tight, but oh my gosh. Well, let's see. Let's
Where to
show a
start?
few things, and then you guys, if you missed yesterday's demo, Janet and I were just talking too, but if you missed yesterday's demo, do yourself a favor and go back and watch it, because Kelly's projects
fun.
hit
I
it
love
out
that.
of the park. And I'm going to just take an opportunity, because Kelly doesn't
do
toot
that
her own
now?
horn, and tell you just how absolutely beautiful these projects were. But these cards, should I fan
Maybe
them out?
Show we really prepared, as you can tell. We're
Well,
moving stuff out of the way.
we were running around. But look at all these beautiful, beautiful things that Kelly made yesterday in the demo. And then we're going to show you the projects, and then we'll show you the product. But
And we are not sold out, so I was
No.
really happy we ordered a lot.
yes, we look at that. That's made with a stamp, and then she fussy cut around the bottom of it, and then stenciled with this diagonal stencil. And we'll show you all the product again. And you can go back and watch yesterday's video from start to
the last
finish.
half of the video, if you want to see the new product, watch the whole thing. The last half, we showed you how to use the Pink Fresh Floral Notes stencil, stamp, and die. So thank you, everyone. Gosh, Dawn, there's lots of hearts coming
And
through.
look at, she didn't even show this
I
yesterday.
forgot to show that. I wanted people to see you can do it on colored cardstock. And I use the same Pink Fresh ink on it. And you can do it for a layout, or I die cut one.
So it's the same as this ink?
Yep, it's the same ink.
It looks like it was printed on there.
Now
oh
that right
my
there
gosh.
is my thumbprint.
Yeah, if anybody wants,
If you're doing it, be careful.
if you're a private investigator and you
Yeah.
in Kelly's, you're looking
If
for Kelly.
if you're missing a box of chocolates and you need some, I don't know, if you're investigating, you might want to take a shot of that right there.
There you go. There you go. And look at this layout that she made. It's
They're
just
nice because the stamps
beautiful.
can be used on slimline cards, on layouts. You can use them in a A2 card, and they've got lots of
oh, here's the
words on
A2.
them.
Here's the A2
I
card.
just need to put a greeting on there.
And this I thought was an aha for me. She used
That's a different
pumice
stencil.
stone in antique linen, and we've got that here. But there's the plaid
It's a
stencil.
two-piece stencil, which makes it kind of cool.
And there's another one, and here's those flowers again.
Barb, thanks for buying it
And
all.
there.
So you can pick it up. Maybe you can come by today and bring it to your car so you don't have to go out in the car cold.
Yeah, just give us a call. We'll get bundled up and bring your packages out to you today. Okay,
Thanks for showing those, Dawn. It was very fun. I loved working with that
but
product.
here's all the product. This is the die set that she used, like here. So
and you'll
she
notice it has the word and the shadow, and I used vellum for the shadow, which I thought was kind of interesting. I like that.
okay, and there's the plaid stencil again.
And is that called Simply Plaid?
I don't-
Basic Plaid. basic plaid, slanted
Diagonal stripes.
stripes, not slanted. And this is floral notes, and this is the stamp I loved because it has lots of good messages to go with it. So you're getting the image and the messages.
And the stencil.
There's the stencil that coordinates, and then there's the die.
Okay, but wait, there's more.
They have
Because,
others, yeah.
yes. Okay, here's the class that I took. And so if you go online and if you go to new and you go to Pink Fresh, you're going to find all these stamp and stencil and die combinations. We bought lots more because we were so fascinated with all of them. And this just gives you another idea. Kelly, what's that one called? Because I don't have my glasses on.
Leafy wreath, overlapping leafy wreath.
Overlapping leafy wreath.
And this had 4 dies.
Four stencils. Four
Sorry,
stencils
sorry.
and
Okay,
one die. So here's what it makes. And then I just added Nouveau drops because I thought that was really fun. And then this bow was made with this die set from Pink Fresh. So all of this is going to be under that new Pink Fresh, the new category, and then the Pink Fresh. And
That makes 2 different bows.
yeah, different kinds. But
I'm anxious to try that. We need to demo that maybe next week if we've got an open day. I think
yeah,
that'd be
this class was really fun. So we just wanted to point that out, that go and spend some time looking under that tab. Okay, and then back in stock is the Funky Fold cards. And we have the cards and envelopes. You get a pack of 5 for $4.99. So that's a pretty good deal.
$1 each for you get the,
For your-
It's already pre-scored and cut. I want to say sliced.
Yep.
But it's pre-cut and sliced. So it's
And
ready to go, and it's got directions on what to fold where.
so all you have to do is add your little mats and stickers, and it's a really fun card. Who wouldn't love to get that and open that up?
You guys, hang on just a second. Beth, I'm sorry to hear that. Her extended warranty is up. I think
I
all
got
of
this.
our-
I got that same thing. How?
Beth, sorry, you might want to start taking those calls coming in from faraway places.
Yeah, yeah. I've even had, and this is no lie. You know, when you say, "Oh, that came from Zimbabwe," I truly had one on my phone that said Zimbabwe. I wasn't making that up, so it's kind of funny. Okay, and this Maggie used this die set. It's called Mixed Media, I believe, Mixed Media 1, on her project, her Mixed Media project last week.
Right there.
And a lot of people asked for this die, and so it came in yesterday. And you'll find this under dies and sizzix.
Do we know how much it is, Dawn? It's got 4 dies in it.
$19.99.
I think I need that one.
Isn't that a fun
Oh, Beth
project?
has had 2 calls today, so hers for
Oh, well, thank you
sure.
for
Warranty for sure is up.
thank you for taking those, because I haven't gotten one yet today. Is there anything else we need to show Kelly before
I think
you
that's
get
it.
to
I think
Janet?
we're ready to head over to Janet.
All right, Janet, here you go. Now go.
Got a lot of stuff to show here.
Pictures. Teresa here today? Teresa! It's not even Monday.
I'm
We
so
got Teresa
confused with
working
Teresa
today.
here on
Yeah,
Friday.
it's not Monday, right?
Whoops.
It's Friday. Janet's
Whoopsie.
getting her microphone on.
Getting all hooked up
And
here.
Dawn's going to go charge my microphone. I don't know if they can hear me or not, Janet, but
Am I on, Kelly?
I have no idea.
Okay, we'll see if our viewers can hear
See
me.
if anybody can hear Janet. Diane's probably watching and checking it out for us, so I think it's good.
Great, great. Well, I'm glad to be back here again today. Kelly, this is our 4th week in the Heritage Series. We have 2 more weeks to go.
Okay, Janet, I'm sorry. We got one question back on the Pink
Yes.
Fresh. You do need a die cutting machine in order to use the die, and that would be like a Big Shot or a Cuttlebug or the Spellbinders machine. And so if you do want the die, you need to have a machine. You can also fussy cut it, and you don't have to die cut it out. So Janet, sorry, back to you. Here we go.
Not a problem, Kelly. This is our 4th week. Can you believe that in
No,
our
I can't
Heritage
believe it.
Series?
That's like a month.
It is, and I have
my
2 more weeks to
gosh.
go. So you'll see me 2 more Fridays.
Well, I think everybody is loving it.
I hope so. I hope it's been helpful, and my goal is to just get people started. So hopefully everybody has at least gotten their feet wet in this little project.
I think so.
I hope so. So we have about 4 topics to go over today, which seems like a lot, Kelly, but what else are we going to do today? It's a cold day. We might as well be here. So we're going to talk about old slides and movies.
All right.
We're going to talk about those old photos that are in cardboard frames and what to do with those, because that's a question that comes up often. We're going to talk about heritage wedding layouts, and I brought a few examples for you. And then another question that has been coming up lately, and people have messaged me privately about this too, is how to organize your albums overall, like from start to finish in chronological order or reverse order, or how to even think that through. So I've got some examples of that as well.
Awesome, Janet. Sounds good.
All right.
Nancy would like to know, is in the life binder, what plastic envelopes are you using, or sleeves?
Plastic sleeves. If you want to use 8.5 by 11, we are Memory Keepers sleeves that are acid free, the ones that we carry here in your life binder. Then you can also use them in your scrapbook when you're ready to scrapbook.
So you can use them in both places.
That's what I would suggest.
And Janet, I want you to know that Janice is looking forward to Fridays because she's loving the series.
Oh, well,
that's
thank
nice
you.
feedback. And thank you, Janice.
Surely appreciate that. All right.
I cannot hear Kelly.
I don't have a microphone. John's charging my microphone.
Oh, Kelly, do you want me to?
I'll try to yell louder.
You want me to pass this back and forth?
No, we're okay.
All right.
You do the talking.
All right. Well, we're going to start with slides and old movies, Kelly. And as I was preparing for the slide thing, some people had asked about old movies too. Do you remember these, Kelly? 8mm movies.
I think my dad took lots of movies like that when I can't answer.
Oh, well, Kelly is saying yes, she does remember.
I do remember.
How about that? Does that work?
Yes,
any
I
better?
remember that. Sorry, Janet.
And of course, everybody remembers videotapes as well, because that's not been that long
Got
ago.
those too.
And Polaroids. That's another question that came up. What to do with Polaroids? So I fished around and found an actual old Polaroid
Oh, good job.
from 1994. So
Janet,
there
is
you
that
go.
you right there?
That would be me. Yeah.
Oh my
and
gosh,
my daughter.
and little Bailey.
Yeah.
Oh, cute.
So we're going to start out by talking about old movies and videos, because you probably have them. We have them, and then we're going to talk about Polaroids and then slides. So movies and videos, the idea here is to get them converted into a format that you can use. Because right now, most of us don't have a means of playing a movie like this.
Right, exactly.
And many of us don't have a means of playing a movie like this either. Some of us do. The first thing I would suggest is, if you do have a way to view an old movie or an old videotape, take a look at it first and decide if this is something that's worth digitizing and converting into a more current format. Because maybe when you take a look at this, it might just be old soap operas recorded on here. It might not be anything worthwhile.
Or Disney movies,
right,
in my case.
Right. So don't worry about that if it's nothing, that you really want to preserve, because it is expensive to digitize a movie. But if you do have a way of viewing it, let's say you had an old 8mm film projector, what you can do is set up a tripod and your iPhone and just videotape the movie as it plays on a screen.
Oh, good
You
idea.
could do that.
I love that idea.
And most of us have good enough phones these days that you could probably make a pretty decent copy that way. But I'm going to assume, Kelly, that most people don't have access to a projector. So if you know for sure that you want to digitize a movie like this, I would suggest finding a local place that would do it for you, so you don't have to mail it in somewhere and risk having it be lost. And in the Des Moines area, there are a couple. I've used a place called Put It On Video, and they've done a really nice job for me. But wherever you are, I'm sure you can probably find a place. And you can, of course, mail them in as well. And they will produce a video that you can then load onto your computer and you can view. So that's where you're going with this project. I would just suggest, before you invest in the money to do that, if you have a way of looking at it
Make sure
first.
it's what you want.
Yes.
Okay, Janet, we have a couple things to point out.
Yes.
Let's see. Kathy found out that her daughter is the 11th great-granddaughter of Pocahontas
Wow.
and John Rolfe.
How exciting.
And you helped her do the research to help her find that out.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to hear that.
And then Jody's asking how to watch past videos. And if you go to Facebook and you click on our page, of course, where else would you want to go on Facebook, and go to videos, and then you'll see all of our videos, and they do have the dates on them. and they'll have a little title that tells you that Janet was here. But look for the Fridays if you're looking specifically for Janet's videos. Okay, and you are inspiring Kay because she's got a lot of this packed up, and now she's thinking she might go ahead and do something with it, which is great.
Excellent, excellent.
And some people say they can hear me, so maybe they can.
Well, we're kind of sharing this
we'll
microphone.
move on.
So I also had a question or two about Polaroids, and Kelly, I'm sure you remember taking Polaroids.
Sure.
I still have a Polaroid camera at home, believe it or not. I don't know if it works.
We have Doug's parents' Polaroid camera, so I don't know if it's from the 60s probably.
Oh my goodness. Well, believe it or not, when I first started teaching for Memory Bound, I always had to talk about Polaroids in the beginner's class, because one of the things that people would often try to do is cut off that bottom part of the Polaroid.
Yeah.
You never want to do that, because there is a chemical inside that if you cut it, it will break the seal and it will destroy the image. So first stop, never ever cut a Polaroid. I think the best thing to do with a Polaroid, since they tend to be unstable and they will fade or discolor over time, is just to scan them or take a picture with your iPhone of the Polaroid. This is an example of this same picture. I just took a picture with my phone really quick, printed it on regular paper, and I lightened it up a little bit, and so I think that improves the quality somewhat.
Oh yeah.
So I would suggest, if you have Polaroids, either scan them or take a picture of them, somehow get them into your regular photo editing software, and then you can maybe tweak the colors just a little bit, and it'll be a better image that you can use in your albums.
And here's the information that Janet's giving you, and I did take a screenshot, and I will post pictures after the video, so you will have all of it.
Oh, up front on the Valentine table.
Okay.
Alrighty, so
All right,
let's
Janet,
talk about
here we go.
slides. And let me tell you, when I was a kid, all we did was slides. So I have had a mountain of slides to deal with, and I'm sure everybody who knows about slides remembers these old trays and whatnot. So when I cleaned out my parents' house, I literally had stacks and stacks and stacks of trays of slides. I did not keep all the trays, but I kept all the slides, and I cut the boxes apart. So there was a grid on the front.
Oh, your family was organized,
well,
Janet.
this is my writing, Kelly,
that's
from
you
when I was a
organized.
kid.
Oh, from when you were a kid. Oh,
I
my
always
gosh.
kept track of all this. I have always been this way, Kelly, I
love
assure
it.
you. So I cut these off and recycled the boxes. I sold the trays and kept, of course, the slides. But these information sheets have been really helpful for me in sorting through the slides and deciding what to digitize. So what I would tell you about slides is, first of all, it's an expensive process to have them converted into digital images. I've had a lot of them done, and it will cost you. The other option is to purchase a scanner and do it yourself. That is also a time-consuming process, and scanners can be $100 or more depending on the quality that you purchase. So again, like with the old movies, it's basically a 4-step process. I would suggest the first thing that you want to do is take a look at your slides, because you probably don't need to digitize all of them.
That's a good tip, Janet.
You probably have a bunch of pictures from, well, this is from our trip to Washington, D.C. I probably don't need all those scenery pictures. I want the pictures with people in them, but I don't care so much about the scenery. So the first thing to do is to take a look at them and decide which ones you want to digitize. And if you're lucky, Kelly, you might have one of these old viewers. Do you remember these?
I do.
You would poke your slide down in there and then push a button, and I can't do this one-handed, but there would be a...
Go ahead and put your microphone
There
on,
would be
Janet.
a light.
Dawn's charging the other one, so it'll be here.
There would be a light that lights up that you can see the image. Let's see.
So is this back from your childhood days, Janet?
This is actually my mother-in-law's, so it does not work super great here, but there is a light in there that you can see the image. So this is just a viewer that allows you to look at your slide and determine, is this one that I want to spend money to have digitized? Another way that you can do it, and this is easier, get yourself some archival sleeves, and you can buy these online. This is what they're called.
Oh, so they're 4 slides, special for slides.
And they're archival, so you could keep your slides in here long term if you wanted to, if you did nothing with them and just wanted to save them. This is not a product that we sell, but you can get a whole package online. And if you put them in like this, what you can do is you can just hold them up to a window or to a white light.
Oh yeah, we can see them.
Yep, and see them and decide right away which ones do I want to spend money for getting them digitized. So if you have a couple ways that you could do this. If it's a snowy day and you're in Iowa, you can hold this up to a snowy window and you can see. Or if you have a computer with a blank Word document, you can just set up a blank screen and hold it in front of the blank screen. Anything just to get a white light behind it. If you have a light box that you've used for crafting, you can also set them on the light box just to see. The only point of this process is just to be able to see the images and decide which ones you want to spend money on digitizing. Does that make sense, Kelly?
I think it does. It's amazing.
So once you do that, then the choice is yours as to whether you want to digitize them yourself or take them to a professional. And I've done it a little bit of both ways. If you're taking them to a professional, you want to take the time to put them in the right order, because what you're going to get back is a DVD with the slides in the order that you give them to them. So make sure that they're in the order that you want them. Once they're on the DVD, then you can print them like you would a normal picture, because they're going to come back in a JPEG format.
Perfect.
So are there questions about that?
We do have some questions,
Yes.
Janet. Let me go back here. Beth is having trouble copying her Polaroids because it's grainy. Do you think that's a DPI problem, or do you have any suggestions?
Is Beth, are you using a camera or your phone, or are you scanning, or?
So Beth, send us some more information on that and we will respond either here in the video or Janet will respond later. And then Michelle purchased a machine scanner and hers was $169, but she said it's amazing, and this is really cool, Janet. She did all the pictures that her dad brought home from the Navy before she was even born.
Oh, wow, that's great.
And then Michelle said she sorted through her slides to look for people and tossed out the ones that did not have the people in them, so that's how she sorted.
I think it's great.
Oh, and she said her parents had a slide camera and a film camera, so she had lots of duplicates, so that's good to note.
Good.
And then Michelle wants to know, is it better to put slides in archival sleeves or leave them in the plastic case?
In the plastic case that they come in?
I think probably.
Well,
or what do they come in, Janet?
Well, sometimes they used to come in these little plastic boxes that snapped shut. We don't know if those are archival safe. So I would say if you're going to keep the slides long term, you want to invest in some sleeves that you know are archival safe and designed for long-term storage. So that would be my 2 cents. Also, don't just think that you can squeeze a bunch of slides together and rubber band them together, because over time the rubber bands will break apart and then the slides will go helter-skelter in your box. So you want to make sure that you're putting them in a place that they'll stay nice and organized. I would also say it is worth keeping a tray. If you have a projector and a tray like this, it's worth keeping that just for the novelty's sake. And it's kind of fun if you have kids or grandkids to have them over and to have a slide viewing night.
Oh, yeah.
So if you still have that equipment, I would say just keep it. Now, if you decide to invest in a machine, like was it Michelle who's invested in a machine and thought it was well worth the money, it's a great project for a teenager to sit and scan slides in, or a husband that perhaps needs something to do when he's underfoot these days. So just a couple of tips for you. Now, if you get the idea that you might be able to take a slide like this and put a white background and just take a picture of it, you're probably not going to be super pleased with the quality of that. I've tried that a few different times and have gotten lesser quality images, and they don't print out well. So I think your options for slides are going to be have a professional do it or use a scanning machine. So any questions before we leave that topic, Kelly?
I think that's pretty good.
All right. Great.
Elise paid a neighbor to scan all her photos and slides. So
Excellent.
that's a good idea too.
Yeah, it's just kind of a mundane process, and you, if you have someone who is looking for something to do that's useful and you don't want to spend the time on it, definitely ask a neighbor, friend, or husband. Okay, so we'll leave that topic and move on to the next one. And this is a question that has come up a lot. And the question is what to do with these photos that are in the heavy cardboard frames. And I guess you have two different choices. You can use the original or you can use a copy. And so first of all, I wanted to start with photos that are in glass frames, Kelly.
Okay.
And this is a great picture. It is in a very old
Look
frame.
at this. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this
we
is
got kind of a glare from the light, but there we go.
So this is a frame or a framed photo that I just left in the frame. Look at that. It's super old, and I didn't want to take this apart because I looked at the whole thing as kind of an artifact.
Look at even the little date at the bottom.
1930, yeah. And so I left this as is, and I just made a copy. And probably what I did, it's been a while, but I probably just I left it in the frame, and
So
I
you
just
copied it in the frame?
took a picture of it with
my
my
gosh.
phone. And I think it actually printed out okay.
It looks good. It looks better than the original.
Yeah, lightened it
really.
up just a little bit. So this is what a copy looks like. Ideally, you would take it out of the frame, but this one hasn't been out of the frame in forever, so I was a little leery about doing
Janet,
that.
those people look really happy.
Don't they? He kind of looks like Lincoln, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Must have been the style at the time. Yeah, nobody smiled very much. So you can always use a copy. This is another picture that had those old kind of corners on it, and this is also a copy. So you can always use a copy, and certainly that's going to be the flattest, least bulky thing to do, Kelly. But if you want to use an original and you don't have a lot of people who want your pictures, you can also use the originals. And I know that I'm kind of radical here in doing that, Kelly.
Oh, I think it looks good. It looks very, lots of layers. It looks good.
Yeah.
I like it, Janet.
Well, sometimes you do have a frame that has a bit of style to it, like this. You know, that just adds a little, what would I say, period kind of touch to the photo.
It's even got the little label from the photographer.
Yeah. And so I have tended to use the actual frames and the original photos in my album. Not everybody's going to be able to do that, but where possible, I have tried to do that. Now, the disadvantage is that it's going to add a little bit of bulk to your album. But if you can do it, I think that is an option.
Boy, isn't she just so pretty?
Well, thank you. That is my grandma.
That's your
My grandma.
not
Yeah,
your
my mom's
great-grandma or
mom's
great-great, just your
mom.
grandma.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she's pretty.
Thank you. Well, this is the lady whose school diploma I copied, and the school diploma was quite large,
Oh,
and I
okay.
just copied it for her book.
You laid it out on the floor and you took a picture
I
of it,
did.
right, Janet?
I
Okay.
did. Now, these are two of her siblings, and also I used the original mats here. Now, one thing that I have done, and this is probably kind of radical, Kelly, you know
so
me,
radical,
I'm
Janet.
living on the edge. There have been times when I've had a photo that had one of these frames on the back, like this, a stand on the back. I've just used a craft knife and just removed that and removed this down here and kept the actual framed part, but just got rid of this
got
part.
rid of that part.
Because just doing that gets rid of a lot of bulk.
Right. I could see you wouldn't want that whole thing in there.
Right. Same with this type of photo here. You could just remove this piece and still keep the mat. So I know that a purist, an archivist would probably cringe at that, but that is what I've done.
It's a personal decision. If
It is.
you want to put it in your scrapbook and be able to, just kind of keep it like that, then you can do it. It's your pictures.
Absolutely. To me, that's the safest place for pictures like that because I know if they're in a scrapbook, they're going to be kept.
Right.
Now, this is the type of photo where the photo is actually glued into the frame, and there is no way, even if I wanted to remove that, I could. So that one, you would either take a picture of the whole thing and use the whole thing, or just use the original.
Janet, Holly has a question. She wants to know what kind of copier like the brand that you use to make such good copies that look like the original.
Well, thank you very much. I'm actually just printing them at home for the most part.
So you're taking a photo.
I'm taking a photo and printing them at home on my Epson color printer. But we also have a great copier here.
Yeah, here at Memory Bound we do have a copier.
And we can do these kinds of things.
Elise likes the leaves in your
Thank
theme,
you.
how you've added some leaves everywhere.
You know what I was thinking there, Kelly, was the idea of family tree.
Right when you said that, the light bulb went off for me, and I'm like, oh yeah.
I tried to repeat
Family
leaves throughout. So yeah, there's a lot of leaves in my album.
I didn't get that when you mentioned it in a previous video, but I do now.
That's it, yeah. So these are my suggestions for how to work with framed photos and matted photos. You can either take a copy, take a picture, or use the original. And certainly if you're using the original, you can also use photo corners. On these particular samples I didn't, but I do sometimes use photo corners, and then you can just easily remove that. Yeah. My situation is kind of unique. I don't have any siblings or others that are interested in these, so they're basically just for me.
You get them all to
They're all
yourself,
for me. Yes.
That's awesome. Thanks, Janet.
Yeah.
So far, I think everyone's
All
loving this.
right. All right. Let's talk about
I
wedding.
wonder if my microphone is charged yet. I wonder if Diane would check that for me to see. Are we coming here?
We're gonna talk about wedding.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to move on to wedding.
So I thought we should spend a little bit of time talking about ideas for wedding pages, because in your box of goodies from the basement, you've probably run across some wedding pictures, possibly some invitations, some other memorabilia, some newspaper articles from heritage weddings. And I brought along a few samples of how I have worked with those kinds of photos. But before we start, Kelly, let's talk about this.
I would love to.
Kelly brought this project, and I just thought it would be beautiful to show because it has to do with weddings.
Well, we have these little crates here at the store, and I think they're really fun. I did one for a vacation, and I did one for like a school pictures. And what I did was I went through and got all of our family wedding pictures, and I actually printed them here at Memory Bound. And we did have a question about the copier, and we absolutely can copy for you here at Memory Bound, and it's on archival paper, and so it turns out really nice. So there's somebody you might recognize. That's me with my big glasses and my thinner body and my younger face, and my husband. And so what I did, I took every family member. I went back to my great-grandparents and my husband's family, and I got their wedding picture, and I put the date and their names, because you can't always remember, you know, who people are. And I have just a little folder here thing that I haven't put anything in yet.
I love this.
There's my mom and dad. Mom, I don't know if you're watching. And these people, it'll say on here if I pull it out, but oops, that's that's sticking.
Oops. Oh, wait, we'll be careful here.
There's my Aunt Loretta and Uncle Jack.
Oh, I love this.
And this is just a little envelope. And then I've
So
got our
beautiful.
daughter and her husband, and so I've got all relatives here and little things, and I just keep this out on a table. You know, grandparents, parents, great-grandparents. I've got aunt and uncles. There's my brother and his family. There's my nephew. So I've just got everybody on here, and I've put in their dates and names, like I said, and then I have a little thing here about what I really love about weddings, a list. Is the microphone charged yet? List of things that I love about weddings, like the speeches, the parents, the decorations, the cake. I think what I meant is being the parents is always fun. So all of this stuff is kind of like just put into this little box, and I just keep it out so I can enjoy it, or if people come over. And so anyway.
Well, you know what's great about this, Kelly, is that you can see weddings through the generations in your family, and you can compare.
Because doesn't this look happy, Janet?
It's great. It's just absolutely great. Kelly, I'm so glad that you brought this. I think this is just a beautiful way
It was fun to make.
to display your wedding pictures.
Dawn's getting me clipped up with a microphone. Thanks, Dawn.
Gosh, I hope everybody could hear you. I should have waited until we had you
It's
mic'd
still
up.
red. We'll give it a try, though. Okay,
All right,
the
great.
copier at Memory Bound is available, and that's where I got these pictures. I made copies of the originals, and I did them all in black and white because I wanted them all to look unified.
And then, yeah, it gives it a cohesive look and feel. What you could do too, Kelly, I think it would be really fun to take some of these that are kind of representative of different generations and do a layout comparing couples
or I
through
could
the
put
years.
them in an album also.
Yeah.
That would be kind of fun.
I love these. In fact, I was just looking at the one picture that you have that is similar. Look at the similar outfits.
Oh my gosh, Janet.
This is from 1915, and I don't know what year this is from.
Maybe around the same.
Yeah, but look at the style is really similar.
It is.
Yeah, that headpiece and long veil. Wow.
Oh my gosh, it is. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So how fun is that?
Good observation.
Well, I thought we should just talk about the kinds of things that you might run into with wedding photos and wedding memorabilia. I happen to have, and maybe some of you do too, an original wedding album that belonged to my parents.
Oh.
So it's in really good shape still. So of course, like we talked about last time, we look at an album like this as an artifact as a whole, and I would just keep this intact. So
Janet, that's what I learned the most, I think, from you on one of your Fridays was the word artifact and how some things are artifacts.
well, that's just something I've learned along the way, Kelly, and you know, when we're starting a project like this, you're going to run into those things. So I'm glad I can pass on that little tidbit. So if you do have an album like that from your parents or your grandparents,
or yourself,
or
I
yourself,
have one for myself.
I do too. Keep it intact unless, you know, we talked about last time, unless it's completely falling apart and there's no way to keep it. But I do have that. But in addition to that, I did have a few pictures of my parents that were loose and not in that album, so I went ahead and added them to a page. And this is an original. I think it was colorized at the time.
It looks like it was colorized.
Yeah, so I still worked with a neutral background. I used my favorite, is it called modern foliage dye, and just added my information about my parents and when they got married. So
And isn't that a nice keepsake, especially Janet? I know your parents are gone.
it is.
But you have great memories in your photos.
Yes, thank you. I'm so glad to have these pictures. I'm very, very grateful. I wish my mom had been a little more organized in her photos, but we're getting that taken care of.
You're fixing that.
So this is actually the same picture, but it was in a frame, and I, of course, couldn't get rid of it. So I just put this on a page with a different color scheme, and then here I added the wedding program, and I just used the photo corners behind that so that can be removed. So that just comes right out if you wanted to.
And you can use, the photo corners come in clear, black, craft, cream. I don't know if I covered them all, but lots of colors.
Yeah. And I had a few snapshots that I just went ahead and added to this page, so those two go together like that.
Janet, Leanne wants to know what adhesive you use when you're scrapbooking original photos.
Well, that's a good question. I just use my regular tape adhesive, and I tend to use repositionable adhesive. So it's a very light, tacky. It is the one by, it's the dot adhesive by Tombow.
Okay.
Is it Tombow Mono?
Tombow has a dot. Also, Scrapbook Adhesives has a removable dot.
Yes, it's Tombow Mono that I use. And you could pull these out without probably damaging them.
Or you could use undo if you have to.
You could, yeah, but I don't have anyone who would ever want to pull these out. Unfortunately, I just have a small family. So I tend to use, for things like this, I do tend to use photo corners. Now, for something like this, you might have to use a stronger piece of adhesive. You might have to use tacky tape, but you can see here, I didn't, and it seems to be pretty loosely adhered. I would say you want to use the minimal amount of adhesive that you can.
So Janet, is there a trick to flattening your old photos?
That is a good question. If you go online, there are a few different ways that you can do it, depending on how curly they are. Probably the least invasive thing that you can do is if you still have encyclopedias or heavy books at your house, is just to press them for several days. There's another technique using steam.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or hot water, but look that up. I've only tried that a couple times.
That sounds kind of scary.
Yeah, you don't actually put it on your photo, but you put it underneath your photo, and you can search online for that method. I didn't have great success with that. They curled, They uncurled a little bit, but as soon as the steam was removed, they curled back again. So
Okay.
I have had some difficulty over time with photos that are curled, but I think your best option is to try to press them with something heavy.
Darlene says you have the most amazing photos and memorabilia from previous generations.
Oh, well,
it is a
thank
treasure
you.
for sure, Darlene.
I have to say, I do come from a line of people who save things. Perhaps borderline hoarders. But my mom always believed in keeping that kind of thing. She wasn't organized at keeping it, but throughout my entire life, I've been trying to organize my mom's pictures, and I'm finally getting it done. So this is my mom's sister and her husband. I did not have wedding pictures, but what I had was the wedding invitation and the reception invitation. So I just used 2 photos of the couple, my aunt and my uncle, and instead of a wedding photo. So I just combined these 2 together and made a wedding layout in absence of true wedding photos.
Diana has a suggestion that you could put some of these in shadow boxes also if you wanted
absolutely.
to display them.
Sure, you sure could.
That's a good idea. And then also same Diana has photos that are stuck together. Do you have any tips for that?
Oh gosh, well, undo is always a possibility for that. That's probably the
That's
best
what
way.
I would try is undo. I don't know if it would work because it takes off adhesive, and I don't know if your pictures are stuck from adhesive or
Yeah.
if they got wet and are stuck together,
Yeah.
so it's hard to say.
There is a possibility too that you can sometimes use a piece of dental floss and run it between or behind a photo, and that will just mechanically loosen that adhesive, and that might help too. But I would probably look to undo.
Oh, what else do you have here?
This is a really old marriage certificate.
Oh my gosh, what year is that, Janet?
This is, golly, this 1894.
1894.
1894.
Oh my gosh.
And I happen to have the original, which is amazing. Now, I did use photo corners. I used only 3 because there is no corner
There is
here.
no corner to hold there.
But this is, I figure this is the safest place for a piece like this, for me anyway, because this will go down in a page protector and it won't see any light, it won't get damaged. Now this is a similar license from 1871, and this is a copy. So I didn't have an original, but I was able to get a copy of this.
So you still have the information.
I still have
which
the
is
information.
nice.
And I don't have pictures of this set of grandparents, but I do have this. So that's kind of cool to have that. And I have one more thing to share with everybody, and that is this. And this is my grandmother. We saw a picture of her earlier. My grandmother's wedding from 1931. The reason I wanted to bring this is not a happy layout because she and my grandfather divorced very early on.
Must have been a scandal.
It wasn't a good situation. I don't know the details because we never spoke of it. But I did want to document it, even though it was a difficult situation. So I know that everybody has those in their family, so I just wanted to say don't be afraid to deal with that. I journaled just a little bit about the situation down here, and actually going through my grandma's things, I found her divorce papers too.
Oh my gosh.
So, and I found a newspaper article about when they divorced.
So it was in the newspaper back then.
Yeah.
You got divorced.
Yeah. So
Oh
so
my
I have
gosh.
the papers, and I just thought for the sake of history, I would include them here. They're on the back side. But again, this wasn't a happy situation, but I felt like it needed to be included because it's part of history.
Right. Okay, Christy said she had photos stuck to glass and undo does not work. And
Oh.
undo is really an adhesive remover. So if
Yeah.
your pictures, the film or whatever on your photos got stuck, I could see that being a problem.
I would wonder if she could perhaps take a photo of the
Or
picture.
maybe- oh, the one stuck in the
The one
glass.
that's stuck,
Yeah.
and use that instead of the original.
Okay, let's see. Leanne loves the look of the photo corners, and Holly wants to know, for your page layout, is the pattern paper glued to regular cardstock, or is your pattern paper cardstock?
Well, do we consider this cardstock?
Oh, it's
It's in our cardstock aisle, but it has a pattern on it. So I typically will use cardstock as my background, like
She
this.
just said it looks sturdy as you held it up, so that's probably why.
Yeah, this is a cardstock background with 2 pieces of pattern paper laying over the top of it. This is Authentique
The
Spectrum, which I think we have in the cardstock aisle. So it is a little heavier than some patterns. So that's probably what is making it look a little bit sturdier.
And they're asking about your kids if they're interested in heritage. Rhonda says hers aren't interested, but I think your daughter Bailey would be,
Yeah.
and I think maybe kids would be. The older you get, the more
Yes.
interested in things I think you become.
I have one daughter. I'm an only child. She's an only child. So we're kind of used to going solo on these things. And I have tried in the course of my life to foster an interest in this. And I would say with only some degree of success.
I think she's going to love it.
I think that the older she gets, the more interested she will be in it. And that's one of the reasons why I've tried to put so much effort into my family albums, because I feel like if I tell the story, then it's a compelling thing for her to want to learn about.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
So-
Janet, I love that.
great. Are there other questions before we leave this topic?
Christy just said she did take a photo of her picture that was stuck in the glass, and she went to a photo place in Des Moines, and they said there's no way to get it off the glass. So,
Wow,
so
that's
sorry
too
about that,
bad.
Christy. I'm glad you got a picture of it
Yeah.
at least.
Well, sometimes that's the best we can
So
do.
Janet, maybe it's good if you don't take the picture out of your frame. And I think it depends if they've been in the hot sun or if they've gotten damp. Makes a big difference.
Yes.
To how well they come out of the frames.
For sure, for sure. Well, the last topic I wanted to talk about today is kind of the idea of album organization and flow. And we haven't really talked about this other than I have mentioned when I put together my albums, I use the tabs, the divider tabs between
Okay.
them. These
We
little
have
do's.
those here at Memory Bound.
But we haven't talked about what order to put things in your albums. And that I'm hopeful that the reason that that is coming up now is because people are working on their albums.
Well,
and
that's what we hope for.
And that question is coming to mind. So let me share with you a few different thoughts. Think about what you want to end up with. Do you want to end up with one album for all of your family history? Do you want to end up with a series? Kind of depends on how much stuff you have, wouldn't you say, Kelly? Because if
Yeah.
you have a lot of stuff, you're not going to be able to fit it into one album. Like me, I have a series of albums. So I wanted to share with you how I set mine up and some other alternatives that might work as well. So when I started this project, and I did make a visual aid, Kelly.
Of course you did, Janet.
This is my family tree. On part of it's take a screenshot off of Ancestry. When I started this project, to me the most logical place to divide my albums was to make one album for each with the last name of each of my 4 grandparents. So everybody has 4 grandparents. So I set up an album with this last name, this last name, this last name, and this last name. So my 4 direct grandparents. These aren't my 2 parents. These are my 4 grandparents. So I consider those my 4 main family lines. Does that make sense, Kelly?
Yeah, that makes good sense.
So
Janet.
when I started this project, I set up one album for each. So I started with 4 albums. Now I have since expanded, and I now have 2 albums for each of these people. And when I say I have 2 albums for each of these people, I mean everybody that funnels into those original 4 people, everything for them goes in the one album. So let me show you a little bit more detail. So this is my grandfather Gouling, that was my maiden name, his wife, my grandfather Weaver, and his wife. So let's take a look at the Weaver line. So I have more detail here. So if you take a look at this line that has Don Weaver,
Okay.
these were his parents and their parents, and so far and so on back through the generations. So set this aside. This is a blow up of his entire family. So all of his parents and their parents and so forth back through the generations. So back through 4 generations. All of these people's information would fit into the Weaver albums. So I have 2 Weaver albums.
That makes sense, Janet.
Well, that was the only way that I could think to organize it because I had so much information. So I have 2 sets of albums that include them. Now the question then becomes, what order do you put the things in your albums? So as a scrapbooker, Kelly, I always think about things in chronological order. So from the oldest to the most
Right.
current, That's just naturally how I think of my regular family albums are set up in chronological order, and I think most scrapbookers probably do that.
I think so too.
So when I set up these albums, that's how I was thinking as well. So I started with, and some of these pages are out of here, I started with the oldest people. This starts from the oldest, and then it goes to the more modern.
So do you have a tab for each generation?
I do. So Kelly, and I'm so glad that you asked that. So there would be a tab for Don and Phoebe, for Samuel and Mary, for Pearl and Nettie. For each set of grandparents, there would be a tab, and everything related to them fits under that tab. So let's look at Pearl and Nettie.
Oh, now Pearl spells Pearl a little differently.
Yeah. So Pearl was the man, and Nettie was the female, was the woman, and this is my grandfather right here. So I start each section with like a family photo of them, and then everything that I have for them is in that section. So for instance, this is my grandfather Don, their child growing up, some pictures of him. I have an old farm book of when they were on the farm, and it has like all of their records.
Oh my gosh.
And when I first got this stuff, I didn't even know who Pearl and Nettie were, honestly. So it's just been a voyage of discovery, of figuring out, okay, what is this that I'm even looking at? So then as Don grew, I included pictures of him as he got a little older. And until he got married, everything went in this section. And then when he married my grandma, then there becomes a new tab for Don and my grandma Phoebe. So this is the couple that got divorced, so I don't have a picture of the two of them together, but I do have a picture of grandma. And then everything with their two children, this is my mom, everything of my mom's childhood and my aunt's childhood goes in this section. And because I have so much of this, then I just continued in chronological order. And then this album starts with my mom's high school years. So
oh my
we're
gosh,
going.
what a treasure, Janet.
I'm fortunate, thank you, to have
You are.
so many goodies. So again, we started with the very oldest, and then we're working our way up to current day. So my mom was a basketball player. I got none of those skills.
Janet's mom was very tall. I remember your mom being very tall.
I have absolutely no athletic prowess, but here it's well documented that she did. And so I have her high school things here as well. So this just continues through her high school days. And she was homecoming queen, which was exciting. And then these were her graduation pictures. So I have 2 albums in the Weaver series, and when my mom got married right after high school graduation, then her stuff will go in a tab with my dad.
So is that a new tab, or is it
A new album. A new tab and a new album, thank you. So that one goes in the album under my dad's name.
Okay,
So.
we have a couple things while you're closing those up.
Yeah.
Just going back to I believe the glass, the picture stuck on the glass. Michelle heated hers with a heat tool gradually, and then removed the glass, and when it was loose enough, and it did work.
It did work, wow.
And Ruby used steam, like a pan of hot water, but you don't leave it too long or it gets wet. Andrea did 4 albums for her dad's aunt and uncles, so wow.
Great.
And then Elena wants to know, do you have some of the same pictures in multiple albums?
I do not.
Okay, so they're all in different albums.
There is a point where you will need to decide, do I put things with the man, or do I put things with the woman? And I tended to err on the side of, if it's a couple picture, I would put it with the man of the couple, because that's the last name.
Okay,
So,
good tip.
yeah.
And then, Elise, the album dividers that Janet used, let's just take another peek at those. You can get those right here at Memory Bound. We actually had those made because we could not get anything like that from any of our vendors. So if you just type in album dividers or give us a call, I think you get 10 in a package, and I don't remember if they're $8.99. I'm sorry, I'm not really sure on the price. But and Leanne says you're very talented, Janet, which we all know that for sure.
Thank you. It has been a labor of love for sure.
And the brown, sorry, one more thing. The brown albums that Janet's using are the We Are Memory Keepers albums. They come in lots of colors,
yeah.
Black, brown, green, and they're $32.99, and they've got lots of different page dividers that you can use in them also.
They hold a ton, and they're very nice and sturdy. I have chosen brown for all my heritage albums. Otherwise, I use black and a few other colors. A couple of other things I would point out to people as you're putting your albums together. Remember that you're not going to be the last keeper of these albums. You are the maker, but these albums are going to travel beyond you, beyond your lifetime. So we want to make it easy for the next owner of the albums to know who the people are. So I would say always include a family tree or some type of identifying chart at the beginning of your album. So these are a couple that I just pulled really quickly that I think would be really nice to add to the front of your album, so you can kind of give a who's who, so the recipient or the reader will know what they're looking at.
We are.
And did you have a question, Kelly?
We do have questions. Are the family tree diagrams from Ancestry, like your Weaver?
These, yes. I was just going to get to that. Yes, these are from Ancestry. I have my family tree on Ancestry. I have a couple thousand people in it right now.
Wow.
So it goes back a ways. Ancestry doesn't have a great way of printing a family tree. You can order a family tree. They have a third-party vendor
That's
that
why
they use.
That's why you can't print it, because you can order it.
You can order it if you want to, and you can fiddle around with that process and see if you like it. But for me, my family tree is always changing because I'm always discovering new things. So I just screenshotted.
Okay, take a screenshot.
I screenshot a chunk. I just displayed on the screen this particular chunk of my family, did a screenshot, pasted it into a Word document, and then I added in a text box with this information here. So that way I can stick this in my in my album. If it changes, if I learn something that, I've got this person's name wrong, I can always reprint it. So I don't have to worry about it being incorrect for posterity.
And Elise, Memory Bound ships all over the country, and typically we ship the same day you call or place an online order. It goes out the same day. And let's see, Janet, so we ship to Georgia. Beth wants to know if anyone's having problems with family not sharing photos, and you did not have that problem, did you?
I have them all, so I'm happy
the
to
opposite
share.
Problem, wasn't it, Janet?
But we've run into we have run into that on the other side of our family. Have run into that, and I just don't understand that. It's perplexing to me, because to me, if I have a photo, I want to be able to share it with others who are perhaps looking for that photo. So the good thing is, a lot of times we can work with copies. So if you're able to just get a copy, sometimes that's the best that you can do, and even a digital copy. I would say too, if you're in touch with your family, set up a Facebook group, a private Facebook group for your family, and share your photos that way, because that's a good way to let everybody have access.
The other thing, Janet, Julie wants to know, when you use Find a Grave, does it cost money to request a photo?
Oh, to request a photo? No, it does not. It does not.
They just send it digitally to you?
What they do is, if there is a grave memorial site that does not have a photo posted, there's a mechanism within Find a Grave to request a photo, and they'll send a volunteer out to the cemetery. They'll take a picture and they'll post it on that site. So you'll find it you'll get it on Find a Grave. Okay. I don't know that they necessarily would send it to you personally.
But you can go find it
You can
yourself.
go find it, yes.
And then Janet, Diana wants to know if you share your older photos with Ancestry.
I do. Yeah, in fact, a lot of these pictures that you see on my family tree are ones that I have shared.
Ones that you put out there?
Yeah, I share
Nice.
all of everything I can. I put out there because, like I said before, I think photos are so valuable, and I think they're meant to be shared. So
the more you share them, I think the more valuable they become.
Yes, and I know, because this has happened to me, there are probably people out there looking for a photo that I have. And so if I take the time to scan it and get it uploaded, I'm helping somebody else out. And it's a real thrill to find a photo that you've never seen before.
Oh, Elise is a Find a Grave volunteer.
Oh,
So
really?
they must, Elise, thank you. That's so
Awesome.
sweet. They must have, I didn't realize it, but volunteers that
It's-
actually take care of that for everybody.
It is all volunteer, and it is just a tremendous resource. So thanks to Elise for doing that.
So I think that takes care of our questions. Janet, thank you so much. You
You
just
are
don't know
most
how much,
welcome.
how meaningful it is. There's lots of comments here. There's hearts. There's thumbs
Good,
up. I think
good.
people enjoy the knowledge you share, and you're so
Great.
good at sharing it. You
Great.
just great speaker, and I love videotaping on Fridays because I learned
Oh,
so much from
great.
myself.
Great. Well, thank you. It's been my pleasure. And like I said, I'm just a person who has learned about this through doing it. And I'm here to tell you it can be done. So don't.
And you'll be back on Friday.
I'll be back next week.
And what's next week? What's up for next week? Give us
Well-
a little sneak peek. Or
Next week, we're going to be talking about dimensional or bulky items that you may have associated with your ancestors that you want to somehow fit into your scrapbooks. We're going to be talking about old negatives that are maybe bigger.
oh yes,
Odd size.
I remember those. Yes.
I have a box of those too. And a few other things. I thought we would do
Okay.
some things with school pages as well. And have everyone let us know if there's a particular topic that we haven't touched on yet, because I want to make sure that we weave that in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Janet.
most
Thank you,
welcome.
everybody. We really appreciate you watching us this morning. Have a fabulous weekend and a crafty one.
Absolutely.
Here in Iowa, in the middle of Iowa, it's going to be way below zero. And so a lot of us are going to be staying home, except tomorrow. I'm working, so if you're out and about, stop into Memory Bound tomorrow. Thanks again, Janet. This was so wonderful.
You're welcome.